had to talk with me. She was like, if this is what you're going to do and you're going to support yourself growing up into an adult doing this, then you need to do this. She's like, if not, you need to drop it and you need to work harder on your schooling.
Go into a little bit of the origin story of how you got started with dancing, and because I think that because I forget that about your credentials until you brought it up. Like, remember when we were doing reaction videos and they're like, oh yeah, you did this and this and this. I'm like, holy shit, I forgot how like you actually had, like, yeah, go ahead.
I have a history. It's because I took such a long break with dance that it got to the point where I didn't seem like a dancer at all. But origin story, I'd say when I was little, probably around 6 years old, I was watching the Nutcracker during Christmas. No, I'm a liar. I was watching the Olympics and I saw ice skaters and I wanted to be an ice skater. That was my dream. So, and my family didn't have much money, so it was never something I could do. I couldn't go to lessons or anything. And I'm going to rewind just a little bit. That's a freaking lie. When I was 3 years old.
Wow, it's going further back.
That's a lie. I'm going to go back. This is when my mom would be upset if I forgot this. When I was 3 years old, I went up to my mom and I asked her if I could be a ballerina and get a tutu. And she asked why I wanted a tutu. And I said, so boys will look at me. And from then on, at 3 years old, from then on, she never took me serious. She ragged on me for saying that since I was a little kid, and I never got that tutu. But I think it derived from like wanting an audience. That want was there from day one. But then later, it became a joke. And then around 6 years old, I saw the Olympics. I saw ice skaters. My dream was to be an ice skater because I loved how they spun around. That was the main aspect. And from there, couldn't do that. And Christmas time came probably the same year. And I saw the Nutcracker. And then I made the connection. And I was like, oh, I don't have to be on skates. I can use my feet. And so I started putting on stockings for church in a bathing suit. And I just started dancing around every day. Like, all day, every day. I got my alarm clock, this little black alarm clock radio. And I would turn on the classical station. And I'd put on classical music. And I'd just dance in my room. Dang. Yeah, and I did this for years, and my mom would open the door, and she's like, Southside Chicago woman, she's like, where the hell did you get this from? She never understood why I would be listening to classical music, so I did that. I pretended I was a ballerina for so many years until middle school. I finally tried, I went for the basketball team, I was on a softball team, I was on a soccer team, so then it was all sports. And my 8th grade year, the high school dance team came to recruit and they performed for us, for the middle schoolers. And that was it. I saw them dance and I was like, I'm auditioning my freshman year. So I auditioned. And when I auditioned, I had never in my life taken a dance class. Not one. I'd only watched what I saw on TV, and I practiced where I practiced at home.
Okay.
But I never took a class. So I auditioned and I made it. And from there, we started to compete, and we did UDA, National United Dance Association competitions. And we lost every single one until maybe halfway through my freshman year, I started watching Janet Jackson concert videos on VHS. To teach myself, because we weren't really learning anything at school. We were kind of teaching each other, and the blind can't lead the blind. Yeah. We didn't really have a coach or anything. So I started, and that's why we're losing. And so I taught myself bit by bit on VHS tape, her whole Rhythm Nation tour. Whoa. I play, pause. Yeah, I taught myself everything, every dance move. And that's what happened. It kicked it off. I went back to rehearsals. I taught my members dance moves. And within that same year, we won first place at a UDA competition. Jesus. And we trained hard. Yeah. That was a huge turnaround.
A great testimony of is it possible to learn how to dance without having to go, having access to it? like going to a studio, and then and for those of you who are listening or watching, when she's saying play pause, she's not talking about YouTube, talking about VHS tapes.
Just
But that's
that
exactly
took
what
a
I used to
long
do
time.
with Usher. I would have and I loved my neighbors when when we got this one VCR when the feature had a slow-mo option, so I can go so you can watch everything frame by frame. Like, oh, that's how he's doing this one move. Yeah, and it's crazy because in this, like, how long did it take for you to learn the whole Rhythm Nation thing?
Oh my God. I binged it. I danced for hours. So maybe a weekend or a week, like a weekend and maybe a few days into the week.
The
whole thing. That's all I did. I was
that
a
was
kid.
your friggin' intensive, man.
I was a teenager, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop it. So I started, and back then my brain was sharp and I could retain. I was hungry. So I did it from morning till night, and then I do the dances, and my mom would pass by and be like, "Thank God, finally."
What do you mean?
Like she was just like, she's not listening to that classical music anymore.
She doesn't that classical shit no more.
Seriously, she was so relieved. She was so relieved. But so yeah, I taught myself that. And same thing, we ended up getting we had that VHS player where you could like have it play a little slower.
Yeah,
but I would do it a little bit, but I actually learned that I had to, if I watched them do it a little faster, I got it better. So I just watched them do it really quick and be like, boom, boom. So it was the counts. I needed the proper counts. I would try to teach it to myself slow, and then I'd get frustrated because then I'd go real time and my body was still doing it slow. So I just rewind and play over and over.
So when you went back to your high school, did you use the same moves, or did you start experimenting with your own shit?
My own. Yeah. And
one
moves
weekend, huh?
I mean, moves that were popular during that time too. Like, what was it? There was Harlem Shake and the Crip Walk and my Lord, all of that. So it snowballed really fast. And after that competition, our school recognized us. So they offered up more money. And then we were able to actually get a real coach and choreographer.
Oh, and wow.
She helped us out completely. Amanda, she was phenomenal. And from there, we had a coach for the rest of my years. And but it was a very competitive style, almost like cheerleader. So my part was to bring in the urban essence that we had. So it started there. We did that. And then partial way through high school, when I was in 10th grade, we went to my first intensive ever, which was with Off the Curb, which if you grew up in New England, Off the Curb was the dance company, the urban dance company that danced for Missy Elliott, P. Diddy, everybody. Yeah, they danced for everyone. They were always on TV, opening all shows. So this was a huge company. And when I went to the intensive, it was all day. My first time ever going to any dance class was the number one dance company in our state's intensive.
Wow.
So it was like my world bursted open. And I remember crying. I remember taking the first class early in the morning and I wanted to vomit. I was exhausted and I just started crying because I was so happy. I didn't know that this existed. I didn't know this style of hip hop existed. And I went through all day, and the owner of the company, if I can recall properly, she pulled me aside, and there were hundreds of dancers there, hundreds. Yeah. But she pulled me aside and she said I should consider coming to audition. Oh. So that was, I couldn't believe it. So I told my mom, and here my mom is a single mom who doesn't make a lot of money, but she looked up the company and she was like, this is happening. And she committed herself to driving me 1 to 2 times a week for over an hour. So any one day she took me to a lesson, it was a 2 to 3 hour drive, even in the winter, even in the snow.
Jeez, it's like a drive at San Diego.
Yeah, she did this. She did this because she took me to one class because I begged and I cried. Because after that intensive, I was like hooked. And my coach took us to that intensive as a field trip. she wanted us to get a taste of like another style of dance.
Yeah.
So I begged my mom. She took me after one class. She was like, "You're made to be a dancer," and she dedicated herself to taking me.
It's freaking cool that she like went all in into supporting you with that.
It was huge. Yeah, she was all in, and she was that mom who would like take a nap on the couch while class was going on.
Yeah.
So, or she'd take the class sometimes herself because she was a dancer back in her day. But eventually it took. Yeah, she tried with me. I wasn't ready yet. When I was a kid and I was doing my classical stuff, pretending I was a ballerina, she tried to teach me pop and lock, but I wasn't getting it. Like my brain wasn't making the connection. I didn't want to hear that music. It was all about being a pretty little ballerina. So I should have tried harder when I was younger.
That's kind of what I'm like expecting with Jordan too. Like, you know, I try to show him a little bit of, you know, some breaking, but you know, he is where he is at this point. He's probably not as interested. So, but who knows? He might get interested in it much later on.
I mean, even when we have performances and there's like dance circles, I see him jump in. He goes, you know, it's something about us parents that they don't want to listen to. And
It's like
I don't understand.
No, Mom, I don't like. Yeah.
Okay, so I started going, and then auditions came up, and I had already started going to classes, so I knew some of the members. They were familiar with me at that point. The owner was rooting for me, but you know, a company like that, they're sponsored by FUBU and Red Bull at the time, and they were, you know, they just were the creme de la creme in terms of hip hop in New England. So she wasn't going to go easy. And the audition, there were so many people. It was like you'd see at Millennium. There was a line around the block.
Yeah.
And I auditioned. And at the very end of it, I left. And there was a certain day they were going to call to say if you got on.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman waited until the very last day, the very last hour. I was already crying because I thought I didn't make it. And then she called and told me I made it. Shit. And I fell out because this meant going on tour. This meant, you know, getting special permission from my school to miss school to get to be with this company. Like, it was a big deal.
Wow.
So, yeah, so I did it. I got on, my family celebrated, my school celebrated. When I got to school, there was a cake for me there saying congratulations and like balloons. Yeah,
what the fuck?
It was a big deal.
Supportive ass environment, sounds like.
Yeah, it was amazing. Very extremely supportive.
Dude, growing half my friends would have been like, their parents, the Asian parents would have been like, the fuck is this dance shit? The fuck?
I know. But with the competitions, they were so big. And then it was like, I ended up, my team voted me as captain. So I was captain after 10th grade. So usually you don't become a captain until you're a senior. So they were just, everyone saw my progress immediately.
Yeah.
And everyone was just so happy to see it develop. And so I toured. I rehearsed insane long rehearsals. We were known for having over an hour-long shows where it was nonstop. There were no breaks. We'd go off to the side. We'd do a quick change in the aisleways, and we'd come out and bust it out for the next piece.
How many people were in the company?
It was about 15 to 20. There was a youth company and the regular company.
Okay.
So there were two versions. And I finally got my VHS tapes. I'm going to put them on DVD. So I'll pull some of the stuff out soon. But the shows were always amazing. We always filled up whole venues. And I did have to miss a bit of school for it. We performed at nightclubs. And of course, I was not 21. So I'd have to get special permission or my mom would chaperone the shows. And it was really amazing. So that's what kind of changed everything for me. And to wrap it all up, finally, by my senior year, we were still winning. My high school team was undefeated, #1 New England champions. Mm-hmm. And by my senior year, I trained hard enough with my team and with that company off the curb that I won a solo UDA competition. So I was not considered, #1 best hip hop dancer in all of New England is what the title was, being a #1 UDA champion for New England.
Shit.
So that was a big deal. Fox News came to my school, did an interview. I was on the front page of the Boston Globe. It was a whole big deal. And then I started helping out with the Patriots football team, doing solo events for the Patriots. And then I moved to California because that was it. That was the next thing. I was like, I've done it here. Like, I've done everything.
Wait, so touch on the whole Patriots thing. Well, how'd you get involved with them?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I don't know. I have someone, the
You just showed
offer
up.
came to me by, no, the offer came to me by a parent who I guess somehow worked with the events and they needed dancers. And we were the New England champions. So it only made sense that the New England championship dancers led the New England Patriot events. It was kind of like a, no-brainer. Like, this is what we had to do.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we did. So we did their auction events. So like, they'd have themed auctions where they'd have dinners and we would be dressed up in costumes, like whatever the theme of the event was. And I'd literally walk around with diamonds on, and I'd have security. I'd have security on me. And I'd walk around with diamonds and I'd dance. And I'd just dance around all these people. And then if they wanted to bid on the jewelry I had on, they put their bid in the basket and I'd just keep dancing. And then we'd perform. It was like dance motivators. We'd dance on the dance floor. They're like light up dance floors or on the stage.
Like some of the gigs that Brandon and I have done.
Mm-hmm. And but it was for the New England Patriots. And then
except at a cooler scale, at a much cooler gig.
Yes. So the next step was to dance for the dance team.
Yeah.
For New England Patriots, and but that I didn't want to go to college there. I wanted to come here. So that I let go of that offer. And I came here.
You're gonna dance with the New England Patriots. Mm-hmm. In order to be there, you had to go to school.
Yeah, I mean, because I was gonna go to college, and I wanted to go to college here. So I moved. Yeah. So I came here for college, and then I was invited to dance for the Clippers. Clippers. I was invited to be a Clippers dancer here.
Excuse me.
But my mom at that point was like my manager, basically, after everything happened in high school and how that unfolded.
Yeah.
And knowing I was moving to California, she lined up an audition for this company called Disruption Dance. Before I even flew to California, the audition was, I think, the same day I flew. The same day I landed in California, my mom had it lined up for me to audition for this company.
Shit, man.
So it was intense. She was intense. So that's what support looks like. And it's not always, like, it can get very stressful because there was even a time in high school where I showed her one of my solo competition routines.
Was she judging it hard?
No. I did it for her. She looked at me and she was like, that's it. With a straight face.
Oh, man.
That's it. And I went upstairs and I cried and I redid it. I re-choreographed it. I called up my friend who was editing my music. He fixed all the timing. And then I competed the next day and I won. So it was good. It was great. But,
That's the tough part. Because I feel like, there's the parent and then the manager. I feel like it would be hard because, I would want to be supportive. I guess it just depends on what the kid needs at that moment.
Yeah, for me, I never excelled in school. I never really excelled in my academic portion of school. So my mom kind of looked at it and she had to talk with me. She was like, if this is what you're going to do and you're going to support yourself growing up into an adult doing this, then you need to do this. She's like, if not, you need to drop it and you need to work harder on your schooling. It was either or. And so, not that she was giving me a pass to fail or anything, because I did still have to work hard and graduate and get into college. But she was like, if this is what you're going to do and you want to actually have a career with this, then you can't just be playing around. You need to give this your all.
Yeah. How old were you when you guys had this talk?
Oh, God. She probably said it to me a few times through high school, but definitely towards senior year. Oh, and in senior year too, I did so fucking much. No wonder I didn't do well in school. I also worked as a dancer at Six Flags. I was Tweety Bird and Yosemite Sam. Yeah, and then I did the parades. I was like one of the parade dancers, and so I did that too.
So you were a working dancer at a young age, man.
Yes, I was paid. I was a paid dancer.
Were you paid for Off the Curb too?
Oh my God. Oh, it's so long. I'm certain I received pay for some of the big events, but nothing that, I would remember because we performed a lot of shows.
How many shows?
Maybe my mom even probably kept it. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that woman drove me everywhere. Maybe she was like, "Bitch, give me this money." God,
dude.
I honestly can't remember. I'm certain I did, but I was so young. I was one of the youngest members on the company.
Yeah.
So I can't even fully remember. Nothing that made a significant difference in my day-to-day life. It was more the experience. Six Flags paid, that was great. And that was a big audition too. That was a huge audition. Tons of classically trained dancers. And up to that point, I had never taken a classical lesson. I'd never taken ballet, jazz. The turns we had to do, the leaps, the splits, that came in from what I taught myself at home all those years growing up.
Shit.
Like, off TV, off watching ballerinas.
So so prior to your first ever class, you were self-trained?
Yes. So
how long? I guess. Oh, even from when you're like wanting to be a ballerina, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had been doing it since I was a kid, and
shit. So
so it's doable.